Most men believe attraction is created by saying the right things. They believe it is about clever lines, interesting stories, or emotional honesty. This belief destroys attraction before it even has a chance to form. Attraction is not logical, it is psychological, and psychology does not respond to what you say. It responds to how it feels to be inside the conversation with you. Most men talk to be liked. High-value men speak to shape the emotional frame. This is the difference that changes everything. This video is not about flirting, it is not about techniques, and it is not about manipulation. It is about the dark psychology of conversation that quietly creates attraction without asking for it. If you understand these principles, your conversations will feel different before you even notice results. Women will lean in more, stay engaged longer, and feel something they cannot logically explain. Because attraction is not built through words, it is built through emotional positioning. Most men miss this entirely. The first principle is conversational direction. Most men believe a good conversation is about exchange. They ask questions, they respond, they mirror emotions. This creates comfort, but comfort alone does not create attraction. Attraction requires movement. Female psychology responds to emotional direction, not conversational equality. When a conversation has no direction, it feels flat. When a man constantly reacts instead of leading the emotional flow, he becomes predictable. Predictability kills attraction. Conversational direction does not mean dominance. It means knowing where the interaction is going. A man with direction does not chase topics. He selects them. He does not ask endless questions. He introduces emotional angles. This is subtle but powerful. When you control conversational direction, you control how she feels over time, not moment to moment over time. Most men let conversations drift. They talk about neutral topics, safe opinions, shared complaints. This creates familiarity, but not polarity. Attraction requires polarity. Direction creates polarity. When you introduce a perspective, an observation, or a frame, you are no longer reacting, you are shaping. Women are not attracted to men who ask for emotional input constantly. They are attracted to men who create emotional context. This is why men who say less often feel more magnetic. They are not filling space, they are defining it. Conversational direction means you are comfortable letting silence exist. Silence is not emptiness, it is tension, and tension is where attraction forms. Most men panic in silence, they rush to fill it. This signals insecurity. A man who allows silence signals emotional control. Emotional control is read as confidence. Confidence creates attraction. The moment you stop trying to keep the conversation alive and start allowing it to breathe, the dynamic shifts. She starts investing because investment follows leadership. This leads directly to the second layer of this principle. Attraction is created when she feels emotionally guided, not entertained. Entertainment impresses. Guidance engages. Men who entertain become performers. Performers seek approval. Approval seeking kills attraction. Guidance creates presence. Presence creates gravity. Gravity pulls. This is why teasing works when it is done correctly. Not because it is funny, but because it redirects emotional energy. You are not asking her what she thinks. You are showing her how to feel. This is not manipulation. This is emotional intelligence. Women are constantly reading emotional direction. They ask themselves subconsciously, does this feel flat or does this feel alive? Flat conversations die quietly. Alive conversations linger. The first principle is not about what you say. It is about whether you are leading or reacting. If you are reacting, you are following. If you are following, attraction fades. Most men talk as if the goal is to avoid mistakes. High-status men talk as if the goal is to create emotional experience. Experience is remembered. Words are forgotten. Once you understand this, your conversations stop feeling forced. because you are no longer trying to be interesting. You are allowing tension to exist. And tension is the foundation of attraction. This is the first principle most men miss. The second principle is emotional contrast. Most men try to keep conversations smooth, agreeable, and emotionally even. They avoid friction. They avoid tension. They avoid disagreement. This feels polite, but it kills attraction. Attraction does not grow in emotional flatness. It grows in contrast. Female psychology responds to emotional variation, not constant positivity. When everything feels the same, nothing stands out. Men who try to be pleasant become forgettable. Emotional contrast means you are not afraid to disrupt comfort, not through conflict, but through difference. Difference creates polarity. Polarity creates attraction. This does not mean being rude or confrontational. It means having edges. Edges give shape. A man without edges feels undefined. Undefined presence does not create desire. When you occasionally challenge an idea, shift the tone, or introduce a contrasting perspective, the emotional energy changes. The conversation becomes alive. Women are not attracted to men who always agree. Agreement signals safety, but not strength. Strength is signaled by the ability to stand apart. When you calmly express a different view without needing validation, you create intrigue. Intrigue fuels attraction. This is why subtle disagreement often increases interest, not because she wants conflict, but because she senses independence. Independence is attractive. Emotional contrast also exists in pacing. Most men speak in a constant rhythm. Same speed, same tone, same energy. This creates monotony. High attraction conversations change pace. Slow moments followed by sharper observations. Lightness followed by depth. This keeps attention engaged. Attention follows variation. When you slow down intentionally, you force her to lean in emotionally. When you speed up briefly, you inject energy. This creates a push and pull. Push and pull is not manipulation. It is emotional rhythm. Rhythm keeps things alive. Men who speak in a single emotional register fade into the background. Men who create contrast are remembered. The key is control. Contrast without control becomes chaos. Control without contrast becomes boring. Attraction lives between these extremes. The third principle is conversational non-neediness. This is where most men fail without realizing it. They try to hide neediness through words, but neediness is not verbal, it is emotional. Female psychology detects it instantly. Neediness shows up in how a man listens. A needy man listens to be accepted. A grounded man listens to understand. The difference is subtle, but it changes everything. When you need a conversation to go, well, your energy tightens, you become outcome-focused. Outcome focus is felt, it creates pressure. Pressure suffocates attraction. Conversational non-neediness means you are emotionally fine, regardless of how the interaction unfolds. This does not mean disinterest, it means independence. Independence creates space. Space allows desire to grow. Most men unknowingly signal neediness by over-investing early. They ask too many questions. They react too enthusiastically. They seek reassurance through engagement. This feels flattering at first, but quickly becomes heavy. Female psychology does not want to be responsible for a man's emotional state. Attraction fades when responsibility appears. Non-neediness is expressed through restraint. You do not rush to respond. You do not chase reactions. You do not force continuation. You allow the interaction to unfold naturally. When you are willing to let the conversation end, you gain power. Power is not control. It is freedom. Freedom to disengage signals high value. This is why men who are comfortable with silence often feel more attractive. They are not trying to extract connection. They are allowing it. Non-neediness also shows up in how you handle moments of low response. Most men panic when energy dips. They try to revive it immediately. This communicates dependence. A man who remains calm during low energy signals emotional stability. Stability is attractive. Attraction is not built by constant stimulation. It is built by emotional safety combined with subtle tension. Non-neediness allows both. When you do not require constant validation, your presence feels lighter. Lightness invites curiosity. Curiosity fuels attraction. Men often believe they need to impress. Impressing puts you below. You are trying to prove. Proving lowers status. Presence elevates when you are fully present. Without expectation, your words carry more weight because they are not trying to achieve anything, they simply exist. Existence without agenda is powerful. This is why men who care less often attract more, not because they are careless, but because they are complete. Completeness is attractive. Women are drawn to emotional self-sufficiency, not emotional distance. There is a difference. Distance feels cold. Self-sufficiency feels grounded. Grounded men do not chase connection. Connection comes to them. This principle changes everything once internalized. You stop trying to win conversations. You stop measuring reactions. You stop performing, and paradoxically, this is when attraction increases because you are no longer asking for permission to exist as you are. This is the third principle most men miss. The fourth principle is controlled depth. Most men believe depth creates attraction. They rush into personal stories, childhood memories, emotional wounds. They believe vulnerability builds connection. Used incorrectly, it destroys attraction. Depth is powerful, but timing decides its effect. Depth without grounding feels like emotional dumping. Female psychology does not respond to early emotional exposure as intimacy. It reads it as instability. Attraction requires a foundation before depth can be appreciated. Depth must feel intentional, not compulsive. High-value conversation moves toward depth. Gradually, it allows emotional weight to build naturally. When a man reveals too much too early, he collapses polarity. He removes mystery. Mystery creates desire. When everything is known, nothing pulls. Controlled depth means you choose what to reveal, and when you do not empty yourself emotionally to create closeness, you let closeness earn access. This is not manipulation, it is emotional discipline. Women are drawn to men who have layers. Layers imply experience and self-awareness, but layers must be discovered, not handed over. When depth is revealed selectively, it feels earned. Earned intimacy feels valuable. Unfiltered intimacy feels overwhelming. This is why some men are described as intense. Intensity without structure feels unsafe. Structure gives depth meaning. Controlled depth also applies to emotional expression. You do not exaggerate feelings to create impact. You allow emotion to be present but measured. Measured emotion signals maturity. Maturity is attractive. The man who can speak about serious things without emotional collapse is perceived as strong. Strength creates attraction. Depth should add weight, not pressure. When a conversation feels heavy too early, attraction fades. Depth should feel grounding, not consuming. This is the fourth principle most men misunderstand. The fifth principle is emotional mirroring without submission. Most men misunderstand mirroring. They believe mirroring means agreement, validation, or matching emotions exactly. This creates sameness. Sameness kills polarity. Effective mirroring acknowledges emotion without absorbing it. You recognize her emotional state, but you do not join it. This creates balance. If she is excited, you remain centered. If she is emotional, you remain calm. If she is uncertain, you remain grounded. This creates contrast. Contrast creates attraction. When a man mirrors emotion without losing his own frame, he becomes an emotional anchor. Anchors attract men who fully absorb emotions, lose their center. Losing center lowers attraction. Female psychology looks for emotional containment, not emotional matching. Containment feels safe when you acknowledge emotions calmly without amplifying them. You stabilize the interaction. Stability increases trust. Trust allows attraction to deepen. Mirroring without submission means you are empathetic without being reactive. Empathy without reactivity is powerful. This is why men who remain composed during emotional conversations are perceived as attractive. They do not argue. They do not escalate. They do not collapse. They hold space. Holding space is an advanced psychological skill. Most men cannot do this. They either withdraw or over-engage. Both fail. Holding space requires emotional regulation. Regulation signals leadership. Leadership attracts mirroring, also applies to conversational energy. If she slows down, you slow slightly but not fully. If she becomes playful, you engage but do not chase. You maintain your pace. This communicates independence. Independence is attractive. Mirroring without submission keeps polarity alive. It allows connection without loss of identity. Loss of identity kills attraction. This is why men who sacrifice their personality for connection are eventually discarded. Attraction requires two distinct emotional centers. When one collapses, the dynamic ends. Now understand this. Conversation does not create attraction through content. It creates attraction through emotional experience. Most men focus on content. They choose topics carefully. They plan stories. They memorize techniques. None of this matters without emotional positioning. Positioning is everything. These principles work together. Direction, contrast, non-neediness. Controlled depth and mirroring without submission. Remove one and the structure weakens. Add all five and conversations transform. Not dramatically, not instantly, but noticeably. Women feel it before they understand it. They stay engaged longer. They invest more. They feel tension without discomfort. This is not magic, it is psychology. Psychology responds to consistency, not performance. When your conversational behavior is emotionally grounded, attraction becomes effortless. Effortless attraction is the goal. Effort signals insecurity. Security attracts. Most men chase attraction through effort. High-value men create attraction through restraint. Restraint is rare. Rarity creates value. If you understand these principles, you stop chasing reactions. You stop measuring success through immediate feedback. You allow attraction to build naturally, because attraction cannot be forced, it can only be allowed. This is where most men fail. They rush, they push, they over-explain, and they wonder why interest fades. Attraction fades when pressure appears. These principles remove pressure. They create space, and space is where desire grows. The sixth principle is emotional leadership. This is the principle that ties everything together. Most men believe leadership in conversation means talking more, deciding topics, or steering discussion. This is surface-level thinking. True conversational leadership is emotional. It is not about controlling words. It is about stabilizing emotional direction. Female psychology responds to the man who sets the emotional climate, not the man who reacts to it. When a woman feels uncertain, the attractive man does not rush to resolve it. He remains grounded. Grounded presence creates safety. Safety allows attraction to deepen rather than disappear. Most men panic when emotional ambiguity appears. They ask, "What's wrong? Are you okay? Did I say something?" These questions signal insecurity. Insecurity shifts emotional leadership away from the man. Once leadership is lost, attraction weakens. Emotional leadership means you do not chase clarity. You allow emotion to exist without interrogation. This does not mean ignoring, it means trusting the process. Women are drawn to men who can tolerate emotional uncertainty. Tolerance signals strength. Strength creates attraction. This is why men who are calm during emotional fluctuations are perceived as magnetic. They are not trying to fix feelings. They are allowing feelings to move naturally. This communicates confidence without words. Most men try to manage emotions. High-value men contain them. Containment is not suppression. It is regulation. Regulation signals maturity. Maturity attracts emotional leadership. Also means you do not let the conversation become emotionally one-sided. You do not become a therapist. You do not absorb emotional weight without balance. Balance preserves polarity. Polarity sustains attraction. When a man takes on too much emotional labor, the dynamic shifts. He becomes support instead of desire. Support is appreciated but rarely desired. Desire requires tension. Tension requires two stable emotional poles. This is why emotional leadership must remain intact. You listen, you acknowledge, but you do not collapse. You do not rush to rescue. You remain centered. Centered presence is the strongest signal. Now step back and observe the pattern. Attraction fades when men overcorrect. They overcommunicate, overvalidate, overexplain. All of this is driven by fear of loss. Fear is felt. Fear repels. Attraction grows when men regulate. They allow silence. They allow space. They allow emotion to unfold. This creates intrigue. Intrigue keeps attraction alive. Conversation is not about exchange. It is about experience. The emotional experience of being around you determines attraction. Words are tools, not the source. The source is your emotional posture. This is why the same words spoken by different men create different results. One sounds needy, one sounds grounded. One creates pressure, one creates space. The difference is not technique, it is internal regulation. Most men search for scripts. Scripts fail. Presence does not. When you embody emotional leadership, you stop trying to be impressive. Impression-seeking lowers status. Status is felt, not claimed. Attraction follows status. This is the dark truth most men miss. Attraction is not created by what you add. It is created by what you remove. Remove urgency, remove neediness, remove over-explanation. What remains is presence. Presence is rare. Rarity attracts. If you internalize these 6 principles, your conversations will change, even when you say less. People will feel calmer around you. Women will feel more engaged without understanding why. This is not manipulation. It is alignment with psychological reality. You stop fighting emotion. You stop chasing outcomes. You allow attraction to form naturally, because attraction cannot be forced. It must be felt. Most men never learn this. They talk more, try harder, and push further, and attraction slips away. The men who succeed do less, but they are more grounded, more regulated, more present. This presence is what creates attraction, not instantly but consistently. Consistency beats intensity. Intensity burns out. Consistency builds desire. Conversation is not performance, it is positioning. Position yourself emotionally and attraction follows. This is not about being dominant, it is about being centered. Centered men do not chase connection. Connection moves toward them. This is the dark psychology of conversation. Not tricks, not lines. Principles. Principles shape behavior. Behavior shapes perception. Perception creates attraction. Once you understand this, you stop trying to win conversations. You allow them, and in allowing you lead. This is what most men miss, and this is why those who understand it stand apart.